something important to have is a working theater and forge mode. So let's kind of start with theater. What do you kind of hope to see with Infinite in the theater mode?
I mean, plain and simple, theater needs to be what I'm experiencing in game. It's nothing close to that right now. It's just so out of left field with what you see and what you experienced. And it's like maybe there's a shot here and there that I wanted to see. Like, did I really miss that shot? Or
Right.
I want to improve on this, but I can't really tell, especially for like mechanics and in game. It just shows something not anywhere close to what you were actually experiencing. So it just needs to be as close to what we are experiencing in game as possible. Besides that, I really can't think of much else. It needs to be crisp. It needs to be what the gameplay is.
That's definitely the biggest thing, especially because they have a spectator mode that's kind of consistent with what you see on theater. I'm not sure what it is exactly that makes it so off. It's something about like
Yeah,
they're showing the server side gameplay or something. I don't know. I've heard
I'm
some
not sure.
lingo around it, but ultimately, yeah, your shots are not connecting where they should be. The registration doesn't look right. There are shots going through walls that, like on the the camera on the theater, that obviously didn't happen in the actual game. A lot of that stuff kind of bogs down the experience. On top of the fact that it feels like the Spartans are moving in slow motion on
Yep,
theater as well, which that's just horrible to see. Like it's
it's
not a
just
good
weird.
look. And when you have commentators like casting over that experience, yeah, it doesn't really help bring a lot of viewers to the game. As far as kind of some of my issues personally, somebody who's been analyzing it, I feel like just the general controls, like having it be very precise, having a precise rewind
Oh,
functionality.
yep,
There's no rewind. That's
that's
so
so weird.
difficult. Pressing back and then having to restart to the very beginning of the video, just kind of being able to just pull the left trigger and rewind, like how you pull the right trigger to fast
Yep.
forward. Yeah, and then which would be great for like collaborative content and stuff like that. So having multiple people join into one theater together and be able to watch and talk about the
Yep,
action, I think
that'd
would
be
be
great.
cool
I would
too.
really enjoy something like that.
Yeah, and then we can create content around that, and that really helps Halo. Easier navigation as well, like being able to kind of get behind a player, and if that player becomes highlighted in a specific color, you can snap into his perspective and then break out and then move somewhere else, snap in. I think stuff like that would be kind of cool to be able to do.
Yeah, like what you mentioned with the with multiple people coming in, I really hope something like that because they're very esports centric with their focus on multiplayer, especially ranked multiplayer at least.
Yeah,
I really hope to see something like that because it really sucks whenever like for example as on a pro team and we're trying to go over scrims or something that we
right.
noticed, then all four of us have to go into theater, all four of us have to go to the exact
Separately.
same time
Yeah.
separately, and then it's like, all right, 1, 2, 3, press play. All right, and then now we watch and then try and dissect, but maybe we're still off a little bit, and maybe we're not watching the same POV. So it's like, I really hope that's one feature. Okay, now that I'm thinking about it, I really hope to see a group theater where maybe even one person's sort of like the master of the camera
Yeah.
and can take each person through. And I think that would be very helpful. Just if like anybody's ever doing lessons or talking to a friend about something that they can improve on, like that would just be very beneficial to have somebody in control that can see things that you don't see
Yeah.
in the future.
Yeah, I absolutely agree for so many elements. And like you said, for teams, which I didn't even think of, like you guys are going over scrims, that's a perfect example there. And of course, I mean, we're lucky to have a theater mode in Halo. It just happens to be something that's been there since like Halo 3. So, now we kind of all expect it to be there. It's more of just what we wish to. So it's not as much of an expectation, but more a wish list on this stuff, guys. So
Yeah.
I'm not saying like, oh, they screwed up here or whatever. But let's jump into Forge mode because this was a big one because it wasn't even there at the launch of Halo 5.
Nope.
So yeah, like what would you say about that? I mean, it came in, and when it did come in, it seemed like it was pretty solid. What do you think of it?
I mean, that's the thing. I believe the game came out in October, and I think the Forge update came out in like December. I
Mm,
want to say it was just months after the game released, and it was something that was already in other Halos from the drop of the package.
right.
And it's just like these things are expected out of Halo games now. And it's like they need to be functional, they need to be ready. Don't ship the game if these things aren't ready.
Mm,
I think people really now in the past few years, especially with all the games that have come out, such as Destiny, like as a prime example, it's like don't give me don't give me the game if the content isn't there and you're gonna sell it to me or
sure.
repackage it to me at a later time. It's like I want the game when it's ready, and I
Yeah.
think they finally realized that with how we're getting Infinite now, in particular, and probably other reasons. But I really hope that with all this time in for the future that they now have to work on Infinite, everything should be there. Forge, sadly, was not there for Halo 5, and I really feel like that, especially for a community, because like Forge community, like that's a thing. And
it's crazy how many subsets of Halo, and they all
Yeah.
have their own communities. That's the wild thing, is like I kind of understand, like it's a large project, an undertaking for 343 to be like, oh shoot, we need all of these things because Halo 3 had all these things and they were so good, and now it's just
Yeah.
keeping it going, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just that expectation. It's like if a game came out in 2007, it had all these aspects to it. It's like they need to be there for these newer games and functional. They need
Yeah.
to be there. Like that's
Yeah.
a thing that's a precedent that was already set, and
Yeah.
it should stay that way. It should remain there and functional in the future.
Yeah.